Let me guess. You're still sleeping on Starfield, aren't you? With all the new mods that have come out within the last year, and Shattered Space right around the corner, I'm sure a lot of people who didn't really give the game a chance or gave up on it right away, or maybe secretly downloading it again, or considering giving it another go. Or if this is your first time that you're ever trying it, you're looking to learn a little bit of tips and quote tricks to get into this expansive universe, this behemoth of a game, I would say. Well, I have, I guess, I want to say a formula, and I don't want to call them tips or tricks, but this is a discussion of this tips, I guess, of how I get into Starfield quick, easy, and just, I guess, for lack of a better term, skip straight to the fun. Uh, Starfield is really big, and it's kind of hard to navigate where the hell or what the hell you even want to do. And so I've given a lot of thought, and these are some discussion points that I have, and where I think maybe you should start if you're trying to actually give Starfield a legitimate try. This might help you along and, you know, get you past some of the parts where you might be confused, lost, or getting bored, as they say. So without further ado, let's get into number one. There is a mod, SKK Start. I believe I'm saying that right. SKK New Start or something. I'll have all the mods listed in the description below, and maybe even on screen. So this is just like your alternate life start mod in Skyrim, if you're familiar with that. If you're not, it just randomly starts you in. You can start in like the Den, Sidonia, New Atlantis, Aquila City, or somewhere else, and I think also just a random location. I always do the random location, and I always just spawn with, there's different loadouts you can do in this mod, and I just do plain loadout, random location, and I don't join Constellation right away. I switch it to Constellation. Companions are available, so I can like go and meet them and do their stuff, but none of that gets hit off right away. So then you create your character, you start up, and it places you somewhere random in the game. And I think there's like probably, I don't know, maybe within like under level 30 or 40 zone, maybe different. I'm not sure the logistics. I've always started within like a fairly easy zone just since I'm level 1. But I've had so many, like just experimenting with this mod and just seeing the different places I'll randomly start at. It's been super fun. I've had some really crazy experiences where one, I started and it placed me on the icy planet of like Skarov, or I can't remember, I don't know how to pronounce it, but it's where the lock is for the Crimson Fleet, and they're trying to get into the lock, and you have to do their whole mission, trying to look for treasure. Well, it spawned me there just as I was outside on this frozen base, in the middle of nowhere, and the frontier ship, it comes, it lands down in a area next to you, and I explored a little bit, was shooting some creatures, and I kind of roleplayed it that I got left here for dead after getting picked up by pirates, and got a ship, escaped, and as you leave the planet, all of the pirates are like, "You're dead," because you're clearly not friends with them, but you're in this system already because you spawned there. And so it was kind of fun to escape from pirates. I've had another playthrough where it started me at just a homesteading settlement on some random moon next to a gas giant in the Jemison system, or I guess that's the Alpha Centauri system. And it was cool because I just, I talked to them, and they said, "Hey, can you help me with this?" As all the little settlements do. And so I recruited, with one of the other like follower mods, I recruited some of the people to go with me, and we were just scientists, and we went out to go exterminate some creatures. And it was kind of this like starting this roleplay off as we're just little homesteaders, scientists, and I'm here to help these people out. And kind of made this area my home base, and kind of operated from there. And I just thought that was like a really fun, interesting way to start. I had another start where I can't remember. It was just some random place, nowhere in specific, but I was walking around, and before long, a ecliptic ship landed near me. So I ran over and I was like, oh, perfect. Anytime I can, especially when I start a new game, I want to get a brand new ship to get me out of the frontier. So I went and I got onto the ecliptic ship, and I don't know if you guys have had this. It's like a. I don't think it's a glitch. It's just something that kind of happens. It's one of my favorite things when hijacking a starship. But when you sometimes you'll get in from when it's landed on a planet, and then they'll like trigger and they'll take off, and you'll be in the ship already when they start taking off, and you'll have like a 2-second loading screen that like blinks really quick, and then all of a sudden you'll be in space. But you didn't have to go through any of like the ship taking off or do anything. You were just in it, and it kind of just shows how actually seamless this is than you know, we try and think it is all hidden behind screen or like loading screens and stuff. So I don't know if you've had that happen to you, but I ended up like getting taken off into space, and I kill all these ecliptic on here, and I get to the control station or the cockpit, and I'm not high enough level to pilot this ship. It was too advanced of a ship for me to pilot, so I was just stuck in space. And it was pretty fun. Unfortunately, and I guess this is kind of like a fault with Starfield, the leveling system. I have to do certain objectives or do like certain special tasks so many times, and then you can like unlock something. So like destroying so many ships would unlock the next class, and I can't like just work on things or do kind of like in Skyrim where you like would smith a bunch and it would just like level you up. I can't level up my character and do all these things in Starfield. He actually wants you to get experience before you get a skill point. So I was just stuck in space for a while, and I was just trying to find a way like how to get down. Maybe I was gonna try and hail somebody, and maybe they let me hail, and then I could like dock with them. But you can still just fast travel back to the ground. But it would just put me in this very unique situation that I was just laughing because luckily I could just fast travel back to the planet, and I wouldn't have to worry about being actually stuck there. But it did make me go, oh, like I kind of had a little roleplay moment where I was like, oh my gosh, I'm stuck and I don't know how to get off this. So I just spent a couple of days up there in the space station, like eating everything, gathering all the stuff, kind of trying to like embody what it would be like to just be in this situation where I went to snuck on this plane or this spaceship, and then they took off. I killed everyone, and then I can't fly it. I have no idea what I'm doing. I'm just stuck. It kind of was funny. So that's the first one, is to get the SSK New Start mod, because that just, it puts you in the action right away. You kind of customize if you want to even meet Constellation or if you don't. And then I think this is how Starfield should have launched. I don't know, like the way the Starfield is and the whole vibe they have going on with like choose your own adventure and like loosely scripted adventures and just go out there and make your way in this blank slate. I think being able to start in a random location or all these certain areas instead of specifically being in Argos Mining Center on Vectera and like touching the artifact, I think touching the artifact should be a quest you just come up sometime. Like they would, hey, come start this. Like Vectera really wants you to like looking for Argos miners, and people who want to come work at a job here. That should be your entry point into the whole story mode. But I don't know. Needless to say, thanks to mods, you can start that way, and that is how I initially just out of the gate have fun. And I don't even bother with Constellation half the time. I haven't for months, and now with Shattered Space coming out, I'm about to reintroduce my new character to all of the Constellation members. But I've been playing for almost 100 hours on this one character that was like the SSK New Start mod, and I've been having a blast. All right, now on to tip 2. Give your character, I don't know, maybe a profession or a goal, and not one that was in the backgrounds or the traits. I mean, it could be, but I've always done like, okay, this character is gonna be a Freestar Ranger, like this, or they don't like the UC, like kind of give them clear boundaries, or what are you gonna play yourself? Are you gonna be friends with the pirates? Are you gonna strictly be against pirates? Are you gonna try and take both sides? But there's so many different choices, and unlike Skyrim, you don't just, I mean, you can just go and do all the missions and everything and all the main storylines and complete them all, but you don't become the head honcho and like the leader of the Thieves Guild, leader of the Mages Guild, leader of the Dark Brotherhood. Like, you just have a spot in these uh, factions, I would suppose, just like a regular person. Just because you're part of an organization doesn't mean you're completely condemned from this other one. And so I would just kind of pick, like, are you going to be a Freestar Ranger? Are you going to be a great one after the new update in June dropped, was being a bounty hunter? Because you don't really have a whole lot of allegiance. The person kind of contacts you the first spaceport you go to. Is they're telling you to look for come to the Trackers Alliance building or headquarters, and you can join there. And there's all sorts of little missions and yada yada. But it's a great way to like start off if you don't want to be a ranger, don't want to go into the Vanguard, not really sure about joining the pirates or doing any of that espionage, undercover stuff with Systef, and you're just trying to figure out something to do. Joining the Trackers Alliance is pretty solid because it gives you a great mission to start off with. Then it gives you a whole list of bounties on a bounty board that are also separate from just the regular bounties that you can get. And then it also unlocks, the wanted, dead or alive, for people, and you can scan them and turn in bounties, and so it makes wherever you go in the game very unique because you can just scan people and go, oh, you're wanted for a bounty, and you're over here in this random little homestead, or walking through the middle of the slums in the well, and you're like, stop this person for a bounty and collect money. But that's a really good way to get started, and it's just mainly picking a role. Like, do I want to be in the Vanguard, and I just go not straight there, but go there and start working in there in the Vanguard, because you can just take a break from any of the quest. Like, you do your part of the quest, and then what's beautiful about these story quests is that they're not just like, it's like days or weeks can unfold. And so whenever you're done with a part of the quest of a story mission, I should say, or I shouldn't say the main story mission, but like one of these faction missions, you will have just like natural breaks in the gameplay where you're like, all right, I'm kind of done dealing with the UC Vanguard, or I don't want to deal with Constellation storyline, or I don't want to I want to take a break from being a ranger. You can just take a break and you can go do other things, but it kind of gives you like the background, and other people recognize you as a ranger or Vanguard, and it kind of like adds to the role play, where I feel people have to just like rush through the whole faction story, just mission after mission after mission after mission, and then it's done, and they don't really savor, I guess, being wrapped up in that storyline and taking breaks from the storyline and still like having that not yet resolved and having time go on doing other little quests. But guess I'm getting into the weeds, but that is a huge one, is to pick a role for your character. I mean, I've heard of a great idea was being a scientist, because you can do a lot of really non-passive roles, or no, you can do a lot of passive role playing in this game, where you can just put your skills into like surveying and mining and all sorts of other things, to where you just go out and you can get a companion who's like a really good fighter, and they are like your bodyguards, several bodyguards, and you go through and they'll clear places for you. You maybe you can obviously clear the area too, but you're just just a scientist. You don't have as many skills, and you might have to rely on your companions more, and it can really add some fun and interesting dynamics to the game. Whereas if you were just a straight shoot 'em up all the time, you wouldn't ever get that. But there's just a lot of ways to play outside of the box that you have a lot of people just haven't thought of with Starfield, because it kind of like the first time I heard that you could be a bard in Skyrim, or people go around being a bard, I was like, what? That's insane. That's hilarious, and I love it. And that's kind of how with Starfield, like a trucker. A lot of people are like long haul truckers, and there's a lot of supply missions where you're taking people to and from, or taking supplies to and from, and you could just be a long haul trucker, and go into different places and doing little side quests, and just doing your trucking missions and finding your little areas to explore. Uh, Especially making like a cool outpost and like setting up cargo links. And there's a lot of even missions that are worth like 8,000 credits that you can get on just random, not bounty boards, but I guess, yeah, mission boards, where setting up a supply route from a place will give you an initial lump sum of cash, and then you'll be able to make money off of that. And I think like a business tycoon thing, that's another great way. But just if you can figure out what you want to do, like mine, starting, I wanted to make my guy a smuggler. So I wanted to have some bases established out on the outskirts of these big cities in the game, and I would just like fast travel there, or come and land on my little specific base outside the city with all my contraband and all my illegal goods. Or even if I can find a mod and just manufacture all my illegal substances, or contraband, I should say, and sell them to the city there. And I kind of like had this whole like smuggling, like criminal ring underground, which is like still what I'm implementing. And that's kind of like one big idea I have, where no matter what I'm doing, I'm always like, that's what I want to come back to. Or I get sidetracked, like, what should I do? Like, okay, let's work on this. And so if you have something in mind that you're trying to do, that can really help with happens with every Bethesda game, where you stop playing for a minute, or you like put it playing one night and pick it up the next day and you're like, crap, what was I doing again? Like, there's just so much to do. So having like a clear little role in mind, and kind of like clear boundaries for what you want this character to do and accomplish, is something that can really kind of keep you on track. Because this game can get off the rails pretty quickly. Just getting sidetracked, going to endless planet after planet, and all sorts of things. So just having like a especially if you're someone who likes more of a linear storyline, having a certain role that you're trying to stick to can keep you within those boundaries of getting too lost in the sauce. All right. For tip 3, my favorite thing to do, especially in Skyrim, was having a companion. I loved that. And I loved in Skyrim how there were just random companions all over, and the taverns you'd go to, there were like, I think like 90 or 80 or something different companions, maybe even more, in all of Skyrim. And some were like, very fleshed out companions, and some were just like random dude who was just like kind of like a puppy dog, follow you around. Starfield has a lot of the same of that, except everyone I've met, no matter if they're just some random person in a bar, and they, besides like, I think there's some companions who like will literally have like missile technician as their name. Like, they're just straight up your missile technician. I don't know if they have a story. I haven't even really hired them, because I prefer people who have a name. And there's dozens of people. I definitely haven't found anyone, or found all of them at all. But there's lots of characters that are not just the 4 main Constellation companions, that have really interesting backstories, like almost heartbreaking, or really like hopeful backstories that really, you can ask them, like, tell me more about yourself. And like, it's always made me like, wow, really connect with those characters. And if you find a good companion, and you like hang out with them, and you just, they're all very fleshed out, just talk with them a bit, it can really add to that sense of like immersion, of like, oh, like I do care about this person if they're getting hit, or they're not just like my meat shield. Like, I want to help them. Like, this guy has a wife and kid back at home, and he's trying to like go out and explore and like make money with me, as being part of my crew. Like, where it's almost like, feels like the 1700s, and I'm the captain of a ship, and this guy's leaving his family to go out to sea with me, and I'm responsible to make sure that they get back safely. And you can also turn off essential NPCs with some of the mods or with a mod, but I don't know if I'm quite there yet because just I don't want to mess up my game and have anyone who's essential die and then I can't do a mission that I've been wanting to. But it's out there, and that's definitely something I've thought about doing with my companions because I truly love when a companion that you just cherish ends up dying in like an epic battle and you're like, no, oh my god, like I don't know if you've experienced that in another Bethesda game. If you have, let me know in the comments who was your favorite companion that died on you. One of mine was Deacon in Fallout 4. It was some weird event to where I had set these mines in this like military depot, and he can't set off the mines, but these ghouls around him that were coming towards him set off the mines, and it killed him along with the ghouls hitting him. And I was devastated, and I love Deacon, but that's what made the game moment so memorable. Literally, almost 9 years later, I still remember that, and going to the railroad and them hating me and being like, "No, you need to leave. Like, we're not gonna kill you now, but if we ever see you again, we will." And they think I killed Deacon, and I, try to say, "No, I didn't," and like, it wasn't my fault, and it just really stuck with me. And so I think adding a companion that you really care about in the game adds that level of immersion. And something I possibly will do is the ability to kill non-essential or essential NPCs, just so that your companion can die and it can be impactful, and you do have the want and the care to like save them and like have like watch their back in combat and thus not have them be a meat shield. Even if you don't do that, just having a companion is awesome. They always have comments on like the environment and just wherever you go, and it's always nice. At least I've liked that. All right, friends. Tip number 4. Now, as I don't specifically try to pick a weapon that I want to stick to or like a type of like combat style, I have always just fallen into that. Like with Skyrim, I just was an archer, or dual wielding. Love that. And I try and pick out all the games I've ever played, except for I guess maybe Fallout. Fallout, you just use whatever the hell gun you got half the time until you run out of ammo and you got to do this, and then we all have favorites, but that was never one I specifically went into, and God forbid I never really did melee. Starfield's melee when it first came out was a little bit better than Fallout 4 or Fallout 4's, not much, but they actually have skills that you can invest with your melee. So I really recommend putting skill points into martial arts and just a little bit of melee at the beginning, just so the second tier on the physical skill tree will allow you to unlock slides, which is where when you're sprinting and you like press B, you'll slide, and you can slide into cover or slide up against an enemy, and it is a blast. And it took me months until I actually like decided to ever use that skill. I just like saw someone using it in a video and I was like, oh yeah, I forgot that was a thing. And it's so fun. It makes the gameplay just really fluid and all the gunplay. So that's just something you should try just in general. But also pick like, are you going to be into energy weapons, or are you going to be into, I mean, this is kind of what you do in Fallout, would be like, are you a heavy weapons guy, assault rifle like kind of guy, like medium weapons, or do you want energy weapons? And those are the ones that you would, kind of really dig into. And you should do the same in Starfield, because there's a lot of different guns. Like, I definitely haven't even found all the weapons, and I've played since launch at least 600 hours in this game, if not more. And I barely ever find the Varun Kai weapons. I mean, and that's pre-Shattered Space, obviously. So mainly, I love the pistols in Starfield, and so I'm almost exclusively with a pistol or a shotgun. And if I'm not using those, I'm using melee for like not like my knife or katana, or with mods, you got a lightsaber, which is pretty sick. And that really kind of mixes things up. So then like I have my melee weapon that like is really cool because there's some sweet melee weapons, especially if you're using a lightsaber. Great mod too, by the way. I think it's called Immersion sabers, but just for whatever variation that you're trying to be at, you have a gun for, and you can have a gun for every single occasion. But I never find myself using snipers in this game. Very rarely, only when like if I'm on top of a mountain and I'm like looking down at a POI. But usually like I get down and dirty in person. And that's just kind of how I play the Starfield game, and that's something I think I should probably try and implement is like a far away range, like get into like snipers and then stealth. So I'm either taking people out from really far away or I'm right up there with my suppressive weapons and taking them out slowly. Because Starfield, you can sneak. It is just definitely harder, and it's not as easy as Skyrim was, which I like that. Even though it was fun just to be right behind someone's ass and just shoot them and kill them instantly. And as addictive as that can be, it is fun to actually have to sneak around these people and like break cover. And you know when you're sniping them, you have to change spots like you would in real life, and because they can pinpoint where your gunfire is coming from. And so playing with around or restricting yourself to like certain types of weapons can be fun and beneficial to like really put you into a play style, or I keep saying play style, but like into a mode. That's not even the right word either, but really get you to either like find out what you like or don't like, or funnel you into like a play style versus just do whatever is in the moment and not just mindlessly go through it. There's lots of ways to take out enemies, and I just always do what I feel is like I'm in the mood for, technically, or what I have the ammo for, I should say as well. But so yeah, find a type of gun that you want, or figure out what type of a combat specialist you want to be, and that's a good way to really hone in on what skills you want to end up, expanding upon and like adding in. All right, now on to number 5. So after you've kind of picked out the play style or like combat style you want, and you've got your companion, you need to do one of two things. You either get started on finding a ship. What type of ship? What kind of ship guy are you? Even are you a ship guy? And you need to find a home. And there's lots of different homes you can choose from. I mean, you can live in one of the cities, like Skyrim or Fallout games allowed you to, or you can go to any planet. Before you have any upgrades, it's mainly just planets that you can breathe on, that are like environmentally safe for you. You're able to build an outpost on, kind of like Fallout settlements. And then once you upgrade your, I think it's in the technology skill tree. I can't remember all. There's a perk there that will allow you to build on hostile planets. But you got to find yourself a good outpost. And I don't know, if you're not an outpost person, you don't need to do that at all. You can have your ship be pretty much where you sleep and you live, which is ties into like what kind of character are you? Are you a only in space kind of guy? Do you want to have like a big old giant battleship, or do you want a small little fighter? And now that will go into my actual next tip. So I want to talk about mainly bases though, but if you don't like outposts or anything, you could just skip ahead to when I talk about ships and what you can do with that. But finding an outpost is key. And I don't know if you played No Man's Sky, but it's kind of the same vibe as that, where just travel and go find a place that you really enjoy, a cool planet, find some sweet features. I always try to get like 2 biomes together. As you'll see, you just click on where it will like switch just a minuscule from like mountains to wetlands, or coniferous forest to deciduous forest, and right there where it slightly changes, you land there, and you can get like a cool biome that's like or two different biomes, sometimes even three mixed together. Those are the best ones I see when like they're auto generated. But you want to find yourself an awesome place where you want to build or live. And initially, I would always find a place that was next to a civilian outpost, because then I could like build my little area, and then it'd be right on the outskirts of this settlement. So then I could always go there and like get any supplies I wanted and do missions and just feel like I had a little bit of a city there, and I'm helping build part of this, you know, town or this settlement. But now there's mods, which I had no idea until up like 2 weeks ago. It's called, I'll have it on the screen. It's Bard's settlement mods or something, and uh, that just allows you to pretty much replicate the settlement beacon or in Fallout 4. As you can see, this tower right here, next to my character kneeling or sitting down, that recruits people to just come and join, and you can kind of set the parameters and the settings for that. Highly recommended. I'm still learning how that all goes, but now you can just build your city and however many people you want anywhere. But I always would try and get like a civilian outpost to be near, so it could kind of be more of an immersion if I wanted like a little like settlement with other people there to trade and do cargo links. But if you want to just have a place in the middle of nowhere, you definitely can. So this is one of my favorite little areas I've found. The only thing I don't like is that the water is toxic or chemical, so it was a bitch to get here. I had to build an outpost over in this area that's the closest point to the lake and extend hallways all the way out until I could fly with my boost pack or swim so enough to where it wouldn't kill me and land or get to this area. So that's why this is called right now the Outpost 2, because it was the second one here. I built all these things here on this little island, which I called it Donut Lake, because I've never in all my time of playing Starfield found a perfect little island in the middle of this little perfect lake. And what's also fascinating is there's a structure right here, which is like a little farm, and then there's also a civilian outpost not too far from my lake, which really makes it awesome for me. Now that I can build a settlement and build towns all throughout here, I really want to do a cool thing here. But you gotta find something that's fun and inspiring, kind of like the Minecraft vibe of like find a cool mountain or range or landscape that you want to build, and a cool mountain you want to build on, or there's unlimited possibilities with it, and the mods just make it so you can build more things. And I'm sure that after this Shattered Space DLC, we're going to get something that's pretty similar to Fallout 4's building expansions and everything that they implemented with their building system. I don't see why we wouldn't get a ton more cool cosmetic stuff just to build. They've almost always done that since Skyrim, even. So, yeah, get a place to build. And if you don't want a place to build, if you're just like, I'm not into that, never was into the settlements, or like building a settlement, you should really consider either just, technically you don't even have to get a home. If you're not even into like having a home, because clearly you can just buy a home anywhere. You could be like a sleep crate guy, you could live in a suite, just live in a nice place in Aquila City. But I love building outposts. It's the funnest for me, especially building a big landing pad here, and I can customize my ships right here with like all the different parts from pretty much most major ship liners. I don't have to go to different shipping depots or different ship technicians to get different parts, which is a big plus for building your own place. But if you're really into having kind of just your own like tiny little home and flying around, shipbuilding is what you're going to want to get into. Now we get to talk about starships, spaceships. One of the best things, if not the best thing, in this game of Starfield. When I first heard that, I kind of took it as like a negative, like the best part about this game is the shipbuilding. And I was like, well, what about the rest of the gameplay? I mean, if you're going to listen to the haters, I mean, don't, but the rest of Starfield, mwah, chef's kiss, in my opinion. But the shipbuilding, what an amazing thing to add to a Bethesda game. I mean, it's unlike anything that they've done. It's almost like Hearthfire and like the outpost building mixed with like your transport, or your fast travel companion. I don't even know how that would be an accurate way to describe it, but your ship is like another character, and I absolutely love it. I think it's an amazing design for Starfield because you are going to be fast traveling and like flying to all these different places. Why not have a home or a habitat that you can completely customize? I've been wanting to customize a spaceship since Mass Effect, and I really wish I could have changed the Normandy in there, even though, the Normandy's a classic ship. You don't want to mess with the classic, but I just wanted to change the cosmetics of my ship. And I mean, if anyone remembers Ratchet and Clank going commando, I think that was the first Ratchet and Clank where you could change your ship. You could buy different ships, and I thought that was so cool and revolutionary, and I loved having my ship that I saved up for to be in the tiny little Ratchet and Clank cutscenes that, when you're flying through, and I just thought that was amazing. So Starfield is like my childhood dream on steroids. I can actually fly through space, even though people want to call it a flybox. Fly through space, shoot, and have dogfights and land on all these planets with the ship I customized, like super detailed customized, within and without, which decorating the inside of the ship was not a thing that came at launch. And I've hardly messed with that because that's a lot to decorate the interior of your ship with all the little tiny lived-in aspects and the books and the food. And I want to get there one day when I build like my official giant battleship, but I guess I'll rein it in here. And what you want to figure out is, what kind of ship do you want in Starfield? For logistics reasons, the smaller your ship is, the closer the POIs will be when you land, because you have a smaller landing zone, apparently. The larger your ship is, the farther away the POIs will be, because your ship has to have a bigger area to land in. And so that might not mean as much now that we have the Rev 8 and you can just drive anywhere, and it's really just cuts the time in like minuscule seconds compared to what it used to be. But that is something to keep in mind. Do you want a big old battleship with do the mod with like 200 crew slot and just have like a Star Trek style like ship with all these different people and characters that you've met like living on your ship with you? Or do you want to have your tiny little solo freighter or fighter that only holds you and one other person, has like a bed or two, and just quick, nimble, and has a bunch of firepower? That's up to you. And I've spent hours, probably the longest I've spent making something in a Bethesda game, meaning like houses or character creation, like by far shipbuilding. I have spent so long. It's one of those like sit down and like grab a beer, or like pack yourself a nice bowl and just get into shipbuilding. I've definitely done binge watched some shows before while shipbuilding. I mean, you can get the details pretty precise, and that is where I've always started before, you're building like your home and stuff, which I always liked. The spaceship will be your house, and making it cozy and making it cool and fun is definitely worthwhile because you'll be in there all the time. And so just the little aesthetics of like, I want to put a tree here or a plant here, hanging plants down, or I want to put these posters in here, or I want to have, like all of the weapon benches and armor benches and all the different type of workbenches, in my space station or starship. And it's if you're not going to have a player home, you're gonna have a starship. Obviously, you're gonna have to have a starship no matter what. So, yeah, like I just said, it's definitely worthwhile to take the time to customize it and do what you want with it. Even though building a starship can be daunting, it really is fairly easy. And it's kind of like building with Legos. You just kind of see what works together, and there's mods that you can just it will let you spawn money or whatever, and then you can just build, like, go out all out and just spend thousands of dollars on a really nice build. But some of the fun of building is having a restricted budget, and I'll steal a ship, strip all of it, and just see what I can build from the parts, like rearrange, an ecliptic fighter or uh, a crimson ghost into something different, and you'd be surprised just how much you can mix and match. And building on a budget isn't as hard. It actually kind of makes you have some really cool ideas because you have restrictions to things you're allowed to buy and not making your ship too heavy. And the logistics of it, I think, are pretty fun. And if you don't like any of that, you can just buy a ship. You can just buy a lot of different really cool starships that they have, and then just upgrade or add or unadd different parts to them. I mean, that's the beauty of it. But I've always been into customizing my stuff, so starship design is a huge one for me, and that's mm, you know where you're going to be seeing a bulk of your game is with your starship. And if you don't like that, you're not into the starship, every time you load up that space and you're just like, ugh, I don't like this ship, I don't like the design of getting into this ship and this ladder, and like, make a ship without ladders. You can do it. Make a ship with one ladder that goes all the way up and all the way down. I mean, there's you want to make a space. It really goes into, like, architecture and, like, the human aesthetic. What is pleasing to you? What's pleasing to your eye? And what makes it that you feel good every time you enter that space? That's something that you really want to ask yourself when you're building your ship. Like, do I like this ship? Do I look at it and go, that thing is sick? Like, or you go, ugh, I don't like those colors. Or, oh, I hate getting in and out of this ship. I just always skip to the cockpit and then exit immediately because I don't want to go through my interior. Fix that right now. If you don't like your interior and going through it is a hassle, you've got a bad starship. You want a nice, fluid, fun starship that's awesome, to where you're just, you go up, roll up to a nice gas giant or some planet, and you just feel like getting out of your seat and just chilling in the middle of space because you've got a really cool area. Almost make your ship kind of like your camp in Red Dead Redemption 2. All your friends are there, all your things are there, and even dedicate a room in your ship to, like, some of the coolest prized possessions you've found. I don't know. There's a lot you can do, and it's up to you, my friends. It is up to you. Alright, folks. So, this next tip involves immersion. And the number one way I get immersed in a game, be it Starfield or any other game, is turn off the HUD. Mainly as soon as I kind of get a grip on, like, the controls and, like, how much maybe damage takes or something. Bethesda games, I'm pretty comfortable with it, but when you turn off the HUD, it really shows when you have a clean screen on just how cinematic the game can feel. And I know some people just don't like that, and if that's something that, like, just bothers you and you like all the little aspects of the HUD and stuff, by all means, keep it on. But having the HUD off allows you to kind of be in, like, you have to engage with the environment more, pay attention to where you're going, and you can turn on the scanner whenever you want. So then you can just, it shows a guided path to your objective, where you need to go. And you can, like, see the names of things, grab something specific if you're trying to, since there's not the little icon there when you're hovering over something. Even having the reticule off, it makes the gunplay that much more I guess maybe intense or rewarding, because like landing a shot, you're actually landing that shot without, you know, a reticule sight. Even in third person, I've gotten pretty good at just, you know, landing a shot from far away and like lining my shots in to hit them, and it's fun. I really enjoy that, and I'm a big fan of the clean screen, and it's not for everyone, I suppose, but that's definitely where I start with getting immersed. And my other part of getting immersed would be all the options and features that they've added with, I believe, is the June update, with the changing your damage and the enemy's damage, and getting sustenance and taking damage from not having food and water, and getting afflictions from environmental damage and hazardous planets. Uh, that is definitely something you're gonna want to, play with, because you can do however you want. I play with uh greatly increased carrying capacity, because I'm trying to build up my base. So everywhere I go, I'm always just getting supplies and buying supplies from vendors. But then I have my uh enemy damage at very hard, not extreme, but just very hard. Then I have my damage at very easy, which makes it, or it pretty much eliminates the spongy enemies in the game, and I can take damage, you know, and I can die relatively quickly. It's not like Dark Souls, but I have to, stay in cover and make sure I watch my butt, and keep track of my med pack, especially if I have my HUD off, which just adds to another element to the game, which makes it feel more immersive and more like a survival mechanic. But that makes it an equal and more realistic playing field when you're battling enemies and creatures in the game. With food, I turn all the way to, I get affected positive and negative traits of getting food, eating food, and being have sustenance. I should suppose, being healthy and hydrated, versus when I'm dehydrated and starving. It is definitely oh, it just makes you want to eat, and makes all the cool food and all the alien recipes and all these really amazing food items that they've added into the world of Starfield. You can interact with that so much more, and it just really brings me into the world when I'm happy to find a milk or a malt beverage, or alien stir fry, or fried pickles, or when I go to a bar, I get something to eat because I need to, and I always like stock up, because when I don't, I'm like suffering, and I just think that's obviously something that you want to, include in the game too. My hazardous environment effects, I I just treat them on normal. You can turn them off if you want. Just not even worry about that. But going extreme makes it so some planets you can only be there for like 30 seconds, 2 minutes, and then you're dying and taking damage, which can be really, fun. And uh, when you're like trying to get a mission done and you have this whole environmental damage going, I like that part of No Man's Sky myself, but it's realistic and extreme, and until I can like improve my suits and like make some really nice thermal suit, or like a cooling suit for like the hot planets, I just keep it on normal. But it's nice to have that gameplay option if I want to ever increase it and make it more of a challenge. But those are a few of the ways that I make it more immersive, and it's all up to you on how you want to do it. Like fast traveling, clearly you have to fast travel to, well, quote unquote fast travel when you land on a planet, but you can always just travel to the system, and you grab drive there, and you go. What really annoys me because of everyone's complaints is I feel like once you land on a planet, you used to, every time you landed on it, it would show your cutscene again. I like that, but they've just cut that whole part out. So once you land somewhere, you see the cutscene of landing there once, and then you won't ever see that cutscene again. But a lot of people like that. I get a little disappointed because I want to be able to see myself landing in Aquila every time. I only just see myself taking off from Aquila or Neon or New Atlantis or whatever. But that's just my little minor grope, because I like the immersion of, I like to watch my ship land. I know a lot of people didn't, but I'm a sucker for watching my ship land and take off and grab drive and fly through the asteroids when I'm going to another planet in the same system.
But now that I used to, obviously just walk everywhere. And even after I had, discovered a place I could fast travel to my ship, I would just half the time still walk back because I liked, engaging with the environment on the environment's terms. And that's a lot harder for people just because they were bored of it. I now, or well, I just take it as it comes, but now with the Rev 8, that's way more of a viable option to actually like consider and like advice to give out to people because you can just take your truck or your little Rev 8 and drive from wherever you're at to the place, drive back, getting familiar with the land, especially when you like do favors and you like try and build a settlement and like live next to like a little civilization or a little outpost. You can like really get familiar with that terrain, have your little routes and your driving routes. And I just think that's something fun that has just been opened up into Starfield. But you know, just being in the world, having the HUD off, and messing with some of those new gameplay options, that's definitely a must if you're trying to up the immersion. Let alone the mods that you can get into, and just look up immersion mods, and there's a plethora for you to bite your chomps at. And my last tip for you guys is roleplay. Now, I think that's hard for some people. I know it can be hard for me, but part of what I see the most people complain about with Starfield is the lack of role playing, I guess. And not even that they say that, but they don't like how there's nothing, no story, nothing's interesting, it's plain and bland and dull. And I get a little confused because I remember some of the biggest complaints about Fallout 4 and Fallout 3 were that you know who your dad is. You're finding your dad the whole time. Like, you can't roleplay your dad. You can't roleplay that you were some wastelander out in the vault. Like, you weren't even a vault dweller. Same with Fallout 4. You were like before the war. Like, these were things that were preset you had no control of. So now that you do have control of that in Starfield and you can roleplay, you can put your parents in this game and they'll make them look like a mix of what if you create your character. Or you could have them not in the game. There's a lot of different backgrounds and traits that people say don't matter, but they do matter in the sense of just building a character build for you. Just like in Dungeons and Dragons, you build up your traits and your backstory that you have your guy going off of. Like, we were suppressed by the UC and, having a small farm in Aquila and, I hate UC now, or, Freestar Collective Rangers ended up killing my family, so now I kill every Freestar Ranger I see. And, like, these are things that Bethesda doesn't make for you. It's not a storyline that you go and do. This is something that you make yourself. These are things. This is the fun you create for yourself, which is why I thought people played these games in the first place. If I wanted a linear story and a compelling story arc that brought me through this very, I guess, narrative chapter by chapter base, I'd play so many other linear based games. But Starfield is not linear. None of the Bethesda games technically are linear, besides the story can be. You can do those in any order you want. You can skip half of them in most of the games. So you should figure out, and by roleplay, like, just take things at face value. Instead of just seeing something that as they are, or seeing something and being like, I would have done that better, or I would have written it this way. Just respond. Even if you think it's a dumb line in the game or a stupid response, just make fun of them. Go, wow, this character is an idiot. That's what Bethesda's trying to tell me. That's how I see things. Just not, wow, what terrible writing. I go, oh, they're trying to convey to me that this person's arrogant or an idiot, or like they don't even know what they are actually even saying. And so there's a lot of really funny dialogue and things that you can mess with people in, but there is an element of having to use your imagination. And that's why I've always played these games, was making up who I want my character to be and who I consider them out in the wasteland, or in the world of Tamriel, and now in the universe of Starfield. That is something that I feel makes it or breaks it for people. If you can't just get with that and like role play and like really create your own backstory. I saw a comment the other day that was on Reddit, of all places, of course, that said, Starfield is like having your action figures and imagining playing with them. And I guess I get what they're saying, but also, isn't that what video games are? They're like action figures you can virtually control. It's pretty much all of us kids who grew up playing, I'm assuming, with toys and all action figures and yada yada, Star Wars, Lord of the Rings. Now that's what video games translate into. As we get older, we want more of an interactive world, and movies and entertainment kind of have always been that, and now video games. And having a sandbox where I can just do whatever I want and make whatever story I want, and it's not going to interfere. I can say whatever backstory, and that I was a farmer on, certain planets, or that my parents were like real high politicians and now they're retired, or like I can say that, or I can say they're even still in, the like they still do politician stuff or whatever. It doesn't affect with the story, which people want all these choices that just every single choice affects the story, and that's how you get Baldur's Gate. But that also becomes very linear and very story driven, how like it's choose your own adventure book where it has to end some way, and these games are never ending. That was my biggest gripe with Fallout New Vegas. You can't go on after you complete the game. And all these people who love New Vegas and they hate all the other Bethesda games, I think it's because they like an actual linear based story driven game, which is totally fine. But that's why they loved New Vegas, because there was a definite end, and then that's how it was, and you gotta redo it, and you just mess around in between. But I like to complete a story and be done with that, and then have my character still out in the universe, and then a new story comes along or something else goes on, and I just have this character that's in this, for me, a never-ending universe, and I can limitlessly explore and be whatever character I want, however many times I want to roleplay. And I frankly won't ever get bored of that. But I can't speak for everybody. So if you made it this far, guys, wow, I really appreciate it. I don't usually do long-form discussion videos like this, and I'm just trying to start something new and record my gameplay and just talk about Starfield, because I love this game, and I feel like there should be more people talking about Starfield and the lore and the stories and the world within it. I'm a little bit of a lore whore, and there's not much lore videos out there. Like all of our big bad classics, Camelworks, Oxhorn, they don't really cover this game because, rightfully they got bored, and it did not scratch and follow the same formula. It did not scratch the itch and follow the same formula as previous Bethesda titles. So now, not like I could fill in any void or anything, but I just want to be, some Starfield content creator that I wish was there, who, when I just am wanting to listen to Starfield and hear things about it, and just any discussion topic, it's not from 6 months or a year ago. Like, everything's so old, and there's hardly anyone talking about Starfield anymore besides updates and mods, and I just want some nice heart-to-heart chats about Starfield and the universe that I really am growing fond of and still discovering more about every day and every time I play it. So I hope that this video helped you. I hope that you enjoyed it, and if you did, please like and subscribe. I'm just trying to grow my channel and do it in a way that is just fun for me. I'm not trying to worry about views and making the best, cleanest edit video. I just want to express myself in a way that allows me to play my games, have fun, and talk about something that I love and one of my favorite hobbies, which is video games. So thank you for listening to me, guys, and until next time, I bid you adieu. Toodles!